Welcome everyone to the final round of the Quantbox Chennai Grandmasters. On your screen is Dmitry Andreikin with the white pieces opening his game with d4 against Nodirbek Abdusattorov. Now Andreikin has had 6 draws. He's on 3 points out of 6, while Nodirbek has had 1 win and 5 draws, so he is on 3.5 points. Nodirbek, if he wins this round, has a great chance to catch up with Firuza, who is playing against Arjun. So then they would have a tie break. But winning with black won't be easy against the super solid Dmitry Andreikin. Pawn to e6 played. And that is the Queen's Gambit declined. Let's see what Andreikin chooses. He goes knight to c3. And Firuza Nodirbek goes pawn to c6. This is known as the semi-Slav setup. And Andreikin can now put his bishop on g5. Yes, he plays the most aggressive line out there. Now, Nodirbek can play knight bd7, a simple move, but he can also take up the challenge and take the pawn on c4. That would make the game very exciting. And that is what he does, because he wants to win here in order to fight for the top spot. So he takes on c4. e4 is one of the main moves, but a4 played by Andreikin. Now, e4, by the way, b5, e5, this is a very sharp line with h6, g5, and so on. But a4 stops b5, and bishop comes out to b4. e4 is played. Very interesting. Now, you can't take here because the knight is pinned, but you could potentially ask the bishop if it wants to move away from the g5 square. Nodirbek first takes on c3. Okay, interesting. And what if I just simply take back? So he takes back. And his idea is queen a5, attacking the bishop and the pawn. And if you defend it, then you lose the e4 pawn. He goes e5. Oh, that's the point. Because now if queen c3, I go bishop d2 and you lose the knight. So he must play knight e4 now. This is all perhaps preparation by Nodirbek, but he's taken a lot of time already. Rook c1. Very interesting. If you take here, queen d2 and you lose a piece. And if you take here, I take back. So very interesting play by Andreikin. b5 played by Nodirbek. A good move. But it allows the bishop to stay alive, yeah? Like for example, can I go bishop e3? But then knight takes c3. And now queen d2, b4. That's the point. This pawn is hanging now. So queen c2 defends the pawn, asks the knight a question. So knight takes on g5. And you take back with the knight. So takes, knight takes g5. And now if you continue playing this position, white would be better because knight e4, knight d6. So he actually tries to trade queens. And in a way, if we count material, black is 2 pawns up at this point. However, black will lose the c4 pawn. And then rook a1, rook a4 will be lost as well. So b takes a4. And now he first goes knight e4. Instead of taking this pawn, he says, I'll give a check. So bishop a6, defending this pawn is possible. But first knight bd7. So in case of a check, you can come up king e7. And now Andreikin takes on c4. Well, if Nodirbek isn't careful and if he loses the a4 pawn, then the a7 and c6 pawns could become potentially very weak. So he goes king e7, and here the king is safe. He would love to get his bishop out and then play rook c8, try for c5 break. And for now, Andreikin goes pawn to f4. Gains space in the center. And a5 with the idea of bishop a6. Let's see what Andreikin does now. Because Nodirbek is coming close to equalizing, but he goes rook b1. So he takes control of the open b file, and the idea is if you go bishop a6, I'll simply take, and then maybe king d2 and get my rook to the 7th. So he goes bishop a6 regardless. I mean, maybe it was better to not play this move and try for c5. Bishop takes a6. Nodirbek takes back, rook takes a6. And we were talking about connecting the rooks, king d2, to get the other rook into the game. He plays his king to d2. I guess going back with your rook and then trying to trade off the rooks could be a good idea. But he goes rook a8. Quite an interesting move. Maybe with the idea that rook b7, you have rook b6. But Andreikin is like, I am not really concerned about getting my rooks in. I'm more looking forward to my pawns, which are really powerful. King c3 I want to go. Ooh, c5. And that's a dangerous move by Nodirbek. Isn't d5 coming in? Why did he have to play that? Wow. I'm surprised. And so is Andreikin, I'm sure. d5, he gets his pawn ahead. But Nodirbek quickly plays f6. And now Andreikin goes in rook b7. You know, there was an interesting move here, which is king c3. Because after fe, knight e5, you simply lose the pawn on c5. So king c3 was really cool. But rook b7 makes sense. You pin the knight, rook a7, and now maybe just rook b1. There's also some ideas with rook takes knight, which could be crazy. He goes check first, okay? Where does the king go? King f7, king e8, king d8. He goes king to d8. Now rook comes back to b5. Okay, the idea behind this move is that if you were to take on e5, take here, I'll maybe take on c5 then. So he anyway takes on e5. I think Abdusattorov is doing well until now. He's sharpened up the game. He's given Andreikin his chances, but in doing so, he's also trying to create something for himself as well. Okay, take on e5 makes sense. Now rook takes c5 is maybe what you want to play. So it does take on c5. The knight is attacked. And you may want to go rook a1 and take the pawn on a4 next. Knight d7 hits the rook. But look at these two pawns. They are so dangerous. Rook b5, and if he gets c5, c6, white would be in a winning position. But he goes knight f6, and that's a huge mistake by Nodirbek. He simply misses that knight c5 is a killing move. You know, the best move here was king c8 with the idea of rook b8 or rook b7. But since he's played knight f6, now if Andreikin does find knight c5, I mean, it's terrible. He does play it. And Nodirbek, I'm sure, is surprised that he missed such a move. Knight e6 is hanging. a4 under pressure. He goes rook to c8. Now you don't even take here, because once you take, the king can come up. It's equal. I'm controlling this. Rook e1. He plays that move. Fantastic chess by Andreikin. One good move after another. You can't touch the rook. You can't touch the knight. You can't touch the pawn. King e8 played. Now rook takes e6 is possible, but you can also wait. King c3. Wow. He's playing with great willpower, great focus. Pawn to a3 played by Andreikin, by Nodirbek. And this time, there is a chance to take here. Knight takes e6. He takes it. And earlier, king d7 was strong, but now there's knight c5. And the point is, if you take here, rook e6 is leading to almost a checkmate. You lose the rook. So that's the reason why a2. Pawn comes to c5, makes a mistake. He had to play knight c5 and he was winning here. But c5, now king d7 is again. Nodirbek is back in the game. Pawn to c5 was perhaps, yes, he finds king d7. And now knight takes g7 taken. And there are many ways. Knight e4 check should be a good move, because you can't take. It's queening. King c6 is fine, but he goes knight d5. Nodirbek not in his element. Looks very nervous somehow. King c4. Just game over. Because rook e7 check is coming. It's actually a mate, in fact. King c4. Yeah. And the point is, even if you go knight e3, I simply take it. You make a queen. I have a checkmate here. King d8 mate. King c6 mate. So he goes king c6 now. But absolutely missing knight f5. And now it's over. Knight d4 check is coming. He goes rook e8. Simply knight d4 check. King needs to move. And c6 check. Very important move. Because if king d6, you have rook d5 check. c6 and game over. He resigns. Nodirbek loses the game. Andreikin. Well, what an intense encounter that was. In fact, first Nodirbek blunders, gives Andreikin winning chances, completely winning. Then Andreikin makes a mistake. Nodirbek was back. And then again a blunder. And what I really admire about Nodirbek is, even though he could have almost tied Firouzja, yeah, because Firouzja drew his game, he would have been joined first if he would have won this game. He's still analyzing. But what a performance here for Dmitry Andreikin. With this win, Andreikin actually finishes second in this super strong field, and that too with an amazing 4 points +1, same as Arjun Erigaisi. And that's a great result for Dmitry Andreikin. This game between Nodirbek and Andreikin had a lot of interesting moments. I hope you enjoyed it. And from the Quantbox Chennai Grandmasters, this is Sagar Shah signing off. Bye bye.